Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
All you 13-year-olds, get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what is he talking about? All right, hang on. Oh, wait. Nope.
Evening,
Okay.
everybody. Happy Friday. I hope you get the weekend off. If not,
If they don't,
sorry.
it is what it is. They're going to miss out tomorrow because, they won't be able to get to this, extras that Store Horseman has.
Oh,
And somebody will be cursing at that one.
fair enough.
All right. Before we go anywhere, I have a shameless plug. Join the frenzied. Go visit the Patreon. I'm going to loop it for a second. It's either vintage_Motu, Skelly Vader, or Ostradamus Toys. Shameless plug for the night is done. Come join us. Lots of good people.
Yeah,
So
that's
how are
what
you
it's
doing
all
tonight,
about. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. That doesn't have to be the last time we shamelessly plug. We don't need no shame. But yeah, no, I'm doing great. I was just going to say it's all about that. It's all about hanging out with good people, which is why I'm happy to be here tonight with you, good sir.
Glad to
Hi,
have you.
y'all. I'm forgetting sort of where the camera is. So if you see me doing this every now and then, it's because I'm trying to see what's over there.
You're like, oh, where am I at? Where am I at? All right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to say hi to the chat. We got
Yeah.
Mr. Nolan. It's good to see him back around. I know he was probably been really busy lately. Haven't seen him as much as he's been, but I'm glad to see him here tonight. Thanos Copter saying hello. Jim at Largo's Lair saying hello. Mr. Wonderful, good evening. There's Oz. Oz has come to visit us. This Black Knight over at Hello Dope saying hello. Let's see. Who else? Anybody else? Action Figs. There he's at. All right.
Hello, everybody.
That's everybody, I think. Yes, maybe, perchance.
So everybody's here to watch me be to engage in a therapy session, a toy therapy session.
They're here to watch you engage in something.
While I play with toys. This is
exactly. What it is, we'll find out here in a second, I guess. So hang on.
This is Payne's modus operandi. He's gonna play with your toys, so I'll disarm you.
Exactly. Play with kids.
Get into your
You
brain.
do know that's how we work with kids, right? When we do therapy with kids, get them to play with toys.
Totally. Yeah.
It's an amazing thing. All right. So far, I've been using this. This is my Myers-Briggs chart. It is for the geek, nerd, dork version. Okay. So if you have a high IQ and you're socially awkward, you tend to be a dork. High IQ, you have an obsession, you tend to be a geek. If you have an obsession and you're socially awkward, you're a stalker. And if you happen to have a high IQ, socially awkward, and you're obsessed, you're a nerd. So if you want to be a dork, all you got to do is get an obsession. So where do you think you fit on that one?
Oh man, I thought I'd pay you the big bucks for you to tell me where I'm at. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know, man. It sort of depends on the situation. Because the socially awkward thing, I will tell you, it really is dependent on the situation, depending on how much sleep I got, all sorts of things. IQ, I don't know. I'd like to think that is high. And then what was the other one at the bottom? Creativity?
Obsession.
Obsession.
So we're kind of obsessed with toys, right?
I am obsessed with toys.
So we all kind of fit into the toy, at least most of the people that we interact with. I think we all kind of fit into that toy nerd. We're not geeks because I think some of us are socially awkward. Most of us are. Not everybody. There's some that are not.
No,
there's some that are.
Like I said, it depends on the moment. I don't know, man. I think that I will say, as far as obsession goes, I can get really into stuff. just like anybody else. But
Yeah.
I also developed the ability to walk away from things pretty easily, even things that I'm sort of like stuck on. And I've done that several times in my life. And I think, yeah, if we want to get real therapeutic, no, I think there's reasons for that. And so, I enjoy the things that I enjoy. I try not to be sort of obsessed, if you will. You know what I mean? I try not to let it take over me because I've been there, sort of addiction.
Mhm.
So I don't know. What were the options again? Can you show that to me? I like
Yeah.
the word dork just because it's, it also means whale.
Well, dork doesn't. You have no obsession. So hang on. Let me get to the thing again.
Whale.
Hold it back up for you. Hang on.
Whale rooster? Whale?
If
I
you're
don't
just
know. I don't know what the
IQ
rules
and
are
you're
in your
socially
chat.
awkward, but you don't have any obsession, then you're the dork. So I would say geek or nerd is probably closer because you're not a stalker that I know of.
No. I would say I'm more of a scarlet or a snake eyes than a stalker. Oh, stalker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not much of a stalker. I've grown out of that phase.
Didn't we all?
Sorry to the exes.
That was only when you were younger, right? That's how that works, right?
Yesterday's younger, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
I don't know, man. I'd say I'm a nerd. I guess I feel like I want to say like I'm kind of in. I don't know. Again, I don't know. The Myers-Briggs thing is fascinating, but yes,
It is. It's
How
one of
is
those
that
things
Myers-Briggs?
when I saw the
Sorry.
comedian do the bit.
I
was like, oh yes, keep talking. This fits. Yes, thank you so much for this. This is like comedy gold.
I'm gonna bore your viewers here for a second, and I'm just gonna ask you, just to clarify, is Myers-Briggs the one that's sort of like the multiple intelligences, or am I mixing that up?
It is personality.
Personality. Oh, is it? What are isn't there like 4 categories?
There's more than that. There's
more than that?
6, and there's some things that are scaled to where it's faking good and faking bad. Basically, it's a test designed to really figure out who you are personality-wise. But
can you remind me what the 6 are, or some of them?
Off the top of my head, you're asking.
I just remember they were like letters.
2 a.m.
Like
so my brain is like.
Okay, whatever. Never mind. Doesn't matter. Let's talk about points of articulation.
Fried.
Yeah, points of articulation. Deco, nerd lore.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I'm functioning on caffeine and adrenaline at this point. And Ted has joined us from Hella Dope Toys.
Hella Dope.
And Ms. Dawn from Donnie and the
Decade.
Here
too, yeah.
And Adam has decided to grace us. Adam says he's a stalker. All right. Okay. Well, he clarified.
Adam's more of a Rakondo, in my opinion, but all right. Yeah. We all have, we all see ourselves one way, and the world sees us different.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I was explaining on Hella Dope when I got my nickname Pain because I put on a crap load of muscle in junior high.
I love the name Hella Dope, by the way, and I asked Ted that one time. I don't totally remember the answer because I'm here in the Bay. I'm here in South San Francisco, and folks hella say hella out here in the Bay. So at first I was like, "Ooh, Hella Dope. Are you all in the Bay Area?" And then they're like, "No." So I wasn't. I was kind of curious how that came about.
How that came about? Yeah.
Was that an E40 lyric thing or like just hella? I don't know.
Who knows? All right.
Sorry.
All right,
I'm derailing you, friend.
You're derailing me. Yes.
Toypherapy. Okay. Toytherapize me.
I know. We're going to try this. So a play state is a state of mind when one's absorbed in an activity that provides enjoyment and a suspension of a sense of time. When was the last time that you played?
Dude, about, what time is it now? About 2.5 hours ago.
Okay.
Me and the kiddos, 9 and 12, going on 10 and 12, sat down and played a Mario game, a 3D one. And whatever, I don't even know what that game is called. I think it's called Super Mario 3D or something. And it was the first time I'd actually played it. and I played. It was a total play state. It was just like, oh my God, this is fun. What happens if I do this? Oh, I died. Woohoo! Oh, it was totally just. It was like Ratatouille. When he eats the ratatouille, and he kind of has that moment.
taking that moment.
I was in that moment, and I was like, cool. I'm going to sit in this moment and just be here. And yeah, I think as I get older, and I will say, having children, my own brood, has helped me with that, because some of my best memories in life, despite whatever was happening at home, and homes can be challenging, I was like, all right, I want my brood to have maybe the best experiences that I had, rather than some of the other things. So I learned a lot. I've learned a lot by watching people and sort of learning what not to do, maybe from my elders, and then I hang on to the things that really worked. And what really worked was play.
Yeah.
Like, that was the best thing. So with me and the kids, I try to play, like, legit play when I can. And unfortunately, that doesn't translate to figures. I've tried with them. They're very much into Lego.
My oldest boy, it was Legos were the thing that he did. Mm-hmm. It was Thomas the Tank Engine trains.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, my living room, had a big old train track. The plastic trains, not the wood ones. Started with the wood ones. I blame my mom for that. But went to the plastic trains, and then we had train tracks all over the living room. I'd spend 3 hours making a train for him, and then it would take 5 seconds, and he was done. So
okay.
It's like, okay, this is no good. But then he got into Lego, but now he's getting sort of into figures. He's almost 16, so he wouldn't admit it, but he got into Dragon Ball Z this year. So
nice.
And Dragon Ball Super. So now he's getting Dragon Ball figures. He's getting figure arts, not the fancy ones, just the Dragon Stars. I'm not going that far. That's an I love you but moment.
Go, Dad.
After seeing that cooler price, I went, no, I love you, but not happening, dude.
Can say go, Dad.
So when you were a child, what were your favorite ways to play?
Wait, like legit child or like child?
Legit child. Not
okay.
Legit child.
When I was a child, when I was a smaller child, favorite ways to play. I will say, actually, the times when I can remember enjoying myself was when we were outside, like, doing things, whether it was riding a bike or in the backyard. There was a time period, well, two things. So I'm Filipino, and during the 80s, a lot of my family in the Philippines, there was a dictator took over and stuck around too long, and enacted martial law. And so much of what my parents did was try and get as many of my mom's siblings out here. My dad's siblings were mostly here already. And so we had a bunch of folks living with us for the longest time in the house, and a bunch of kids. And at the same time, my mom's mom had a restaurant at one point, and it shut down. So all like the furniture from the restaurant was in our backyard, like heavy wooden furniture. So we would run around the backyard and build these things that could, and did, fall on us and hurt us. And
as a kid, we think we're indestructible, right? It's
yeah,
like, hey, it's not gonna hurt.
But it was cool. Like you'd throw the table on its side, and you'd pretend to be shooting around. Like it was like a paintball course without the paintball guns. And I will say this, publicly on YouTube. We had dogs, and one of my jobs and my cousin's job was to do the sort of pooper scooping. And eventually, you start to get brave, and first you've got gloves or a plastic bag. Eventually, you're like, what if I just didn't even use the plastic glove anymore? So eventually it became a thing where we throw that at each other.
Kids.
So I just want to say, like, that was truly like fun playing with my cousins, doing that kind of stuff. And then we had toys. We absolutely had toys. But I remember being the most truly excited. And then there was a time when everybody eventually landed in their own apartment or house. And then it was me and my brother. And then, and so I think the toy thing was fun, but it was never as fun to me as like those days. So
the people
there.
thing. Yeah. So
and throwing poop. Which brings us all back to Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Monkey flinging poop.
Yeah, monkey flinging poop.
Monkey flinging poop is the zoo. Okay, here we go. So obviously you kind of briefly touched on what play made you feel, which was excited and happy and joyous. When was the last time you felt that way as an adult?
I mean, aside from playing with my I just told you played my I try to find that where I can. And I try to be as light when I can, because I can go very not light and very heavy. I'm a high school teacher, and that job, if you let it, can get very heavy for a number of reasons that I don't need to go into right now. So I try my best to keep it light. And I also, the best part of the job is hanging out with young people, right? Even though as I get older, like I feel it and I'm slowing down, but this is what you shouldn't do with your AWOC toys. Just me being lazy.
You say that and Jeremy's going to show up and start.
Oh yeah. He's like, what are you doing, man?
Speaking into the universe.
I mean, it's a knife. So I try to keep it light, joke around with people, with the students as much as I can, because frankly, their lives are way too serious already. And they're like trying to be 40-year-olds without ever, realize they're just living old people lives. They're just like, whether it's out of fear or trauma or whatever. So as much as I can to get them to laugh, to get them to like talk about whatever nerdy thing they're into. Most of them will never admit it. Like most of my action figures are there, and it's really sad. Like I've got a Darth Vader helmet there. I've got a Kylo Ren helmet. I got a Magneto helmet, like stuff. Most of them are like, either don't notice it, right? Or if it comes up, like I have a plastic Mjolnir that we use in circles, and like, okay, here, whoever has it is talking. That's a talking piece or whatever. Just like, some of them will find, eventually let up like, oh, this is from that movie. And so those are great. And I try and get them to laugh. So I don't know. I feel like I try to bring that if and when I can. And I try to hang on to that. I try to in the moment be like, okay, I need, because you need it. I think it's a coping thing. I need it, at least. I don't know. Other folks can be hella serious all the time, but.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, realistically, teachers are an extension of society as a whole. They're an important cog in the wheel of society. So I do appreciate what you do. I have done trainings in front of 300 people, so it's not. I know what that feels like. I can only imagine what it is day in and day out. Doing it for a week is one thing. Doing it for years and years, I'm sure it's an interesting experience.
Yeah, it's like flinging poop.
Yeah, it is. And I worked with psychiatric patients for 6 years, and it's literally flinging poop. So you were doing it for fun. They were doing it for fun. So it's a different story.
We were doing it because we were going out of our minds too.
Yeah.
But anyways.
So
I'm gonna break this knife. Anyways, let's try Mythic Legions.
What things do you do now that kind of bring you to those same types of feelings?
The joy, the play. Yeah. I mean, it's still this, but I will admit I appreciate these things as much as I say, like, I do believe you should play with your toys, but I think there's a part of me that like I enjoy them, but I'll be honest, what I really enjoy about these things and just seeing them here on the screen or over here is the way they look, like the aesthetics of them. Like these are just amazing art objects to me in many ways. And I think about like, you know, the all the craft that goes into them, the decisions, the design, all that stuff. So which is why I tend to like go for, that's how I often will judge figures, the ones that I want. Like, it's just like, I know a lot of people are like, what is that? That's random. I have no connection to that thing. And I was like, yeah, but it looks cool. Like, that's how my brain works. So as much as I like to play with them, it's posing, looking, like having them on like the video thing and taking video of it and documenting it. Because, you know, I've said this before, I'm not going to have these. And in fact, I think I'm about to hit a phase where I need to start selling some. So I'm going to start with the ones that I have video of and I've documented. It's cool. I get to see it. I enjoyed it. And like, as I mentioned earlier, I can let go. And so that's kind of just the way I operate. So as far as like other things, you know, I've become a walker. We're blessed up here with like a lot of cool, like I could just actually right outside my, you know, just like a couple blocks away is a big hill called Sign Hill that I can climb up and it, you know, kind of get lost in. I enjoy that. The video game thing is pretty fun and that's new. And actually, you know, you and I are both, you know, you mentioned the Frenzy. You mentioned, or you didn't mention, but you and I are both on the GDL Discord, and I'm on like a couple of other ones like Toy Migos, and I actually kind of enjoy that. Like, I'm not a big social media person, so but I do love dropping in and just being like, hey, check this out, what do you think? And like, people are generally funny and silly, and I appreciate that part. You know, so I try and find that kind of joy, I guess.
I think you have to find that joy, and that's kind of one of those things.
Sorry, real quick, this thing is cool. I was telling you before I started that, like, I opened this up, it got delivered to work, and I put it in a Ziploc bag, and it's been in a Ziploc baggie since, right? I left the boxes and stuff there. And so this is my first time handling him, and I will tell you right now, this is like, as far as Ratatouille childhood zooming back moments, this was my, like, after Skeletor, this was the figure that blew me away the most. My brother had him, and I just remember like, whoa, he's got an orange body, and oh, you could turn his head. And like, there was something about him that I think captured that weird fantasy, you know, like half naked dude kinda, and sci-fi. It's like astronaut, but bare chested.
Oh, that was the whole thing about Masters, is it that went right on that line between fantasy and science fiction. And it kind of could touch both lines really well. It kind of what set it apart. Apparently, Jim is going to make a new Kung Fu G.I. Joe custom named
Flum Poo.
Yeah, there we go. Awesome.
It was apparently Brick something and his cousins.
Yeah, give you some props for that one.
And I take pride in being the first of us to do it.
Yeah, there you go.
So Gigi Boy, Eon, you know what it's about.
Speaking of childhood toy lines. What were the childhood toy lines that just...
All right. So it's kind of embarrassing when I look back and think about how much toys we actually had. And people are often like, dude, are you like rich kids? Like, no, we weren't. My parents, you know, moved here from the Philippines. They migrated here, and they busted their butts. And I think that was their way, you know. So speaking of therapy, you know, both my brother, who's 5 years older than me, and me have had sort of like, we're old now, and we've, you know, gotten to the point where we can talk about things, right? And it's a trip to think about how many toys they bought us. And I think so much of that, sorry, mom and dad, was because they didn't really know how else to kind of like, one, take care of us and engage with us. There was a lot of like, go, like, okay, fine, just here's the toys. And I think that was their way of sort of demonstrating their love, was with stuff. And
I mean, there's love languages where it's gifts.
yes,
And
there is. There is.
That's one of those things. And
yeah. And
probably it was just they weren't sure what to do. Maybe in this, they knew that you guys like toys, so maybe that was where that relationship kind of.
Well, the thing is, I don't think they knew we liked toys. So I was born into like a healthy Star Wars collection. I was born in 76. My brother 71. And so by the time I was conscious, like Star Wars was our bed sheets, and there were 12-inch Star Wars, and there were Kenner figures. There was a Death Star, like legit. Like there
Most
was a
of the
lot
70s babies, we kind of got that first run of all of that Star Wars stuff.
And so, but I think when I say that, so my dad did this twice. So I think that was their way of, I don't know if it was like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do.
Maybe.
And, or, because my brother, obviously was here earlier. And so in the spirit of Toypherapy, so my brother was alone with those two, and my parents, and they were sort of trying to figure it out, and it was stressful for them, and it wasn't always happy and cheery.
Yeah.
And he saw a lot of, stuff as a kid. And I a little bit is like apology toys sometimes, or distraction toys. There was a lot of that, it seemed like, happening. And my dad had a lot of siblings, and one that was just, I think he was a teenager when my brother was little. So even my dad's youngest brother sort of had some toys and toyish stuff around. So, and some of that got handed down to us. So, sorry, to answer your question, so I mentioned Star Wars was there?
Yeah,
I was born into Star Wars. I was born into Micronauts.
Micronauts, wow.
Dude, that's the jam right there. That is.
I'm surprised you haven't tried to get the Hidden Forces one.
Oh,
like those.
It's not so much try, like, you see me talk about it in the news. That's what this I will tell you right now, for the most part, the YouTube thing is still joyful for me. And so when I did the news thing, it's like I talked about those hidden ones, those Micronauts ones, right? And I did an interview where that's sort of Micronauts centric that I just need to edit and get out. But that's super joyful to me, and it gives me enough of that juice that, like, I look at those toys, I talk about them on the news, but I don't necessarily need to buy them. But I can appreciate them from afar. And
so you avoid the nostalgia tax.
I try to. Yeah, we could talk about the nostalgia tax too. That's a deep one. But yeah, I see those. I think they're amazing. I don't necessarily feel the need to buy them, and largely because they're not in the scale, right?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty damn spoiled by this company, by Four Horsemen, by toys like AWOC, and to a certain extent, they're not in my brain, not sort of on the same like aesthetic level, and whether articulate, whatever. But these are like, the sculpts are amazing. Just the lack of deco, but and jumping around. But since the hidden isn't sort of in scale with these, I'm good. But believe it that I have,
that's kind of the way that I am. If it's not in scale now, it kind of really rubs me the wrong way. So it's one of the reasons that most of the Origin stuff that I own is in the closet and not out, because that half-inch is enough to just kind of make me cringy a little bit.
Well, in the summer, my hope is to start doing more painting and actually set up a place where I can actually do that. But I want to make some Mythic Legions Micronaut things, homages, and just things that I'm into. But so there was that the Micronauts I was born into, and that's one of those I believe handed down from my at the time, teenage to 20-ish, that era, uncles who were like, I think that's how my brother and I ended up with like a pretty good, somewhat beat up collection of Micronauts that let's see what else. Then when G.I. Joe came out, that was all my brother. He's like, we got to get GI Joe. I was like, oh, I was so little, right? I just kind of
Yeah.
went with the flow. So I was like, oh yeah, Star Wars. No, it's cool because I don't know any better. I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then he was like, now we're getting GI Joe. I saw a commercial for this cartoon or for this comic book, and he was old enough to where he was going down to the corner 7-Eleven and looking at their spinner racks, and so the GI Joe thing happened. We've got to this day a sizable GI Joe and Star Wars vintage collections that are sitting in a storage unit that I'm hoping we can go through this summer. That was a plan pre-pandemic, and it just sort of hasn't happened yet. I kind of want to see what's in there. But those are the main ones. And then at some point, the way my parents were, my mom was a doll collector.
Oh, okay.
And so, but there was this
that might
weird
explain
thing.
why you were getting toys, because if
I think so.
the dolls
Yeah,
made her happy, she would
I guess
assume
so.
that they would make you something like that would make you happy. So that
Did
may
they
be
make her happy though? I'm just kidding.
It probably
Like she
did.
would get these things and they sat there and she never, yeah, maybe they did in her own way. Like yeah. But because of that, they were like, no, you guys collect Star Wars and G.I. Joe. That's it. And then so it was like my brother would find a way to sweet talk an auntie or something, and then he'd be out with them for the day and come home with He-Man.
Yeah.
And my parents like, where did you get that? That's not Star Wars. What is that? And so, I was looking at this thing. I was like, man, who is this barbarian? And I'm looking on the back. Oh, Skeletor. And somehow, then we got a couple of Masters of the Universe. But really, the way I got my Masters of the Universe fix was my cousin, who was 5 years younger than me, had the Masters of the Universe collection. And we go to his house, and that dude had everything. So anyway, I think those are the main things. There's a bunch of stuff. Of course, there was Lego, but the Lego thing we had.
Yeah,
I think
Legos in the 80s were just, it's not what it is today. I mean, it's not a tent. I mean, it was
sure.
It was more creative. It wasn't really like.
Well, I mean, I was born in the classic space. I was born into, the time when the minifigs were sort of becoming a thing and the themes were becoming a thing. So I wasn't quite, the era a little bit before me. I think my brother's era, they had like the big yellow people that were like less fun. I had some Fabuland, but I think all in all, in childhood before college, I think we owned maybe 5 sets, maybe 4 Lego sets. And then, and some of them were like little mini sets.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't a big thing until that was me in college, especially with Star Wars Lego.
Managing stress.
I was a straight edge kid. So I didn't drink. I didn't partake of other stuff. So I say that because I was in UC Santa Barbara. You know what that meant?
Yeah.
That meant I had a lot more money than a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I see people dropping like, $80, $100 on alcohol. I was like, I'm good. I'm gonna go down to the Kmart and go grab this Lego set. And I'm gonna hang out in my little dorm and hide from people because they're gonna call me a nerd. But not that I cared all that much. And I got Lego, and I started amassing a Lego set, and then sort of stopped. And then we moved out here after college to San Francisco. I was doing graphic design back then. It was like early web design.
That would explain why all of the stuff, whenever you're doing like your little when you have your video intros and all that other stuff, it explains a lot. Because I was like,
the design stuff.
That's a little, yeah. You can just tell that there's some graphic design history there.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. I'm glad that shines. That shows through.
It does. It shows through.
But so at that time, it was up here in the Bay Area. The .com thing was happening. It was nuts. And so for a kid out of college doing that, it was way more money than I'd seen in my lifetime, right? And so, and then Lego announced, we are doing sets based on Star Wars.
Yeah.
Game over.
Game over.
Game
It's like,
over.
I'm done.
Like,
I'm going to hand Lego my paycheck. We're good.
and for a good 20 years, a good 20 years, I didn't have a single action. I mean, is that true? But I think generally I didn't really truly have any action figures. I'd watched it from afar, especially when the internet kicked in, and I was still going to Comic-Con occasionally. So I'd see all the stuff, but I wasn't partaking. It was just like in my brain, it was like, cool, like that's a cool playset, or those are cool figures. I'll find minifigs and I'm going to figure out a way to make that. I'll make this vehicle or whatever. And the scale was great, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so those, I think there's my childhood toys. There's my grown-ass child toys, and there's my hella old child toys. And these are my hella old child toys.
Yeah, there you go. I'm gonna check in with the chat for a second.
Yeah.
Lawrence from A Punk with Toys has joined us.
Oh yeah, there's my straight edge buddy.
Ted, I don't remember if I said anything. Ted's here. Jacob, Cobweb is here. And Zazel.
Yo, Joe.
John. All right, wait, hang on. Hang on, there's somebody else. Where's it at? Oh, there he is. Happy Accidents coming to say hi.
Hey, I don't know that name, but nice helmet.
Yeah, he's cool. I like. You got to check out his stuff.
I got to, because he's wearing a Kylo Ren helmet and is that a Cobra logo on his shirt?
He's pretty cool.
That's my childhood
Mike
right there.
Fee has joined us.
Okay, I gotta stop handling, man.
We're there. And Lawrence says, well, he says, let people buy alcohol and drugs. I bought skateboards.
Yeah, dude, same. Yeah, I know he's really big into skating. I tried to do the skating thing. I did do the skating thing for a good little bit in high school. That was the era of fucked, F-U-C-T, to be clear, so we're good. Jeans. And so that was that era. And it was the, World Industries, like that was really early on. And I had a good time with that. The whole like skate punk thing was a thing. So there's a lot of crossover there, but I was never necessarily good at it.
Can't do a skateboard if my life depended on it. So yeah, my coordination's a little off for that one.
And that's actually where I got my early, I think, graphic design bug too. I had a buddy down the street who was like, man, I want a Bones Brigade deck, and this is what it looks like, but I can't afford it. And I was like, dude, let's make it. Did stencils, spray paint, and I was like, oh, this is fun. And then I think I caught a bug then. Anyway,
is that when the problem started? Do we need to?
No, not problems. No. Like in terms of just like being interested, like realizing, I can make things. Like it's cool. Yeah, you can buy these things. And the idea is that he couldn't afford a Bones Brigade thing. So let's make one. Let's draw it on. Let's spray paint it. And it was like, of course it didn't look nearly as good as a thing, but the idea of, I don't know what in my brain said, we could do that. But I think that was pretty early on where I was just like, people like produce these things, mass produce these things, they design them. And here I was, God, I must have been 10 or 11 being like, let's try this. Anyways, that's something that also in my family, my brother is a crazy talented artist. And he was always drawing and making stuff. I mean, I remember some of my favorite toys back then were these little ships that he made out of cardboard. Anyways, so we're all over the place, friend. We're just talking. I hope that's okay. Sorry if I'm boring the folks.
No, I don't think you're boring anybody. You're fine.
Cool.
Lawrence is saying your voice is going to talk him off a ledge if he ever gets in trouble.
What? Going to talk him off a ledge. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, lines you currently collect.
Oh, what lines?
Yeah.
What lines you currently do? Sorry. So collect the things that I buy. Clearly Mythic Legions, Masterverse, Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. I think right now would have to be the things that I sort of collect the most of, and then I sample kind of liberally around. And when I say collect, because I want to clarify, because some people are like, collecting is like, I'm a completist or completionist.
Mm-hmm.
and I can't do that. I think I talked to you one time. I was like, I can't do that. I feel like that's a trap. I feel like that is now forcing me in my brain to be like, I must get this figure, even though it sucks. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, I don't like that character. It's ugly.
Welcome to my G.I. Joe collection. There's about 5 of those figures I could have done without, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But they make good customs, so you know, whatever.
Well, that's the other thing. Then there's the other part of you that's like, no, but there's a reason why I'm getting it. I swear.
Yeah, exactly.
But generally, those are the lines that I am have been buying the most of with regularity. I do have some classics that I've gone. Masters of the Universe classics that I've gone back and grabbed, and it's become way more than I thought they would be.
That Mantenna is that head sculpt on that Mantenna is just fabulous. It's really
and it's to the point where. We've talked a lot about my unintentional inbox collecting, but I've even got like I think I counted like 6 or 7 classics figures that are sitting in boxes, and then Anyway, I think those are the main lines I collect, even with like Armies of Ashmore, for example, is a new line that's out. Indie line. I love supporting the indies. A lot of that's from my punk rock days. A lot of that's from my general outlook on wanting to support, small folks, craft people.
I think the other thing we're seeing though with those indies, they're doing the deep sculpts. They're doing the they're doing those things that mass-produced stuff.
Yeah, they're making artisanal, organic, locally grown toys.
There's a depth to it.
And we're paying whole food prices.
We are.
Yeah, Whole Foods prices.
It's not. It's not for the faint of heart or the poor. So collection rules. Any collection rules? Anything
there are no rules.
There's rules. There's always rules.
There's rules. The biggest rule. Well, one is I guess I'm a vain bee, so I like pretty things, aesthetics. Like that's it. So like I've shown these before. Perfect example. It's like I love Masterverse. I struggle with some of the heads. Masterverse is that line where I will buy a figure that isn't in my brain like great looking because I love the characters and the character designs so much that I love the idea of having a representation of them. And really they were the core of what I call my 2.0 collection, right? Sorry to borrow from Dan Larson.
Yeah.
Like this is my old man action figure collection. And so it started with Masterverse, even though I guess I got a classified Destro first, but like this was the line where I was like, I want to get these. Like a part of it was I wasn't allowed to in many ways have a Masters of the Universe collection as a kid because we had our investment in Star Wars and G.I. Joe a little bit. And then it was like, wow, these are cool sculpts. And I mentioned that I wasn't collecting action figures. My money was in Lego during the time of classics in 2008 during that era. But I remember seeing those at Comic-Con, that first figure, and then later being there. God, what year was that? Maybe 2009 when they had this like huge glass container of like all the ones that had been released thus far. I don't know if they'd done it prior to that, but I spent so much time at the Mattel booth just looking at these things, and I just watched from afar. And so I think something triggered during the lockdown when we were like the Origins was coming out and they were talking about trying to like, oh, there's going to be a new show. And then they announced there's going to be a whole new sort of more adult collector line. During the lockdown too is when I discovered late to the game, but discovered Scott Knightlick's channel, Toy Guru. So this is me trying my best to speak positively. Because I've been frustrated with him like a lot of people, but that he does these director's commentary videos.
Yeah, for some of those are interesting to hear him talk about those classics figures that they did. And it's not that's an interesting take.
Yeah, no, it's really great until he starts talking about himself. But like,
Yeah. So yeah.
there's so much about like, oh, I did this great thing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I got
sorry. Sorry, Scott. No, I
Right
get
there with
it. You get your respect, and I'll give you the disrespect too where I feel it needs to be. But who am I? You don't care about me. But my point is, like, I'm willing to buy a less than perfect figure. The head on these guys I was not into, but there are customizers in there that I'm willing to stupidly spend as much, if not a little more, to get a head than I did for the figure because of the aesthetics.
But we live in a time where we can, if you have the ability, you can make your own heads. You can print your own head. You can, that's the next adventure for me is starting 3D printing. So,
well, so I think those are my main lines. But as you know, we talk. Like I've grabbed some Storm collectibles.
You do. You have this. You have a rather eclectic thing.
Zezre, or I call him Zezre. The combatants fight for glory stuff, and generally, they fit into the. I don't even know if you call it fit into, because as you mentioned, Masters of the Universe is really this mishmash of everything, right? You've got a cowboy in there. You've got ninjas, samurai. And,
it was like they just wanted to throw whatever they could against the wall and solid stick.
And so in general, though, it's high fantasy, technology, sort of science fiction. And so in my brain, this combination all works just fine. And I know that's a cheat because that's a web store tribute, but you know, like it all just kind of, oops, sorry. Forgot that's an active camera. It all just sort of works for me. And so I guess if there is sort of they all kind of have to fit.
So that's your rule. It has to fit.
It has to sort of fit aesthetically in my brain. Like, so for example, there were some figures that what is that werewolf by, I think it's Fury Planet.
Oh, we'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to it later. But just to throw out there as an example. Oh, did I totally knock this? Oops, sorry. There's a not leatherhead, highly detailed.
I got him. You'll see in a minute.
Okay.
So you and I apparently think way too similar.
As an example, like, because there are rules, believe it or not. Dude has blue jeans on.
I know. It throws you out, right?
He can't be on my shelf.
Yeah. It threw me off.
So, like, if I'd realized that werewolf comes with an overcoat and pants, right? And, like, you know, slacks or whatever. And I saw that, I was like, no, not going to work. Slacks, like, that doesn't work. But I didn't realize you could take all that off and he could just be like a big furry werewolf. So it can be like robots to whatever. And I will tell you, for some reason, I can fit certain figures. I can fit straight into it. Like I've got a Flash Gordon NECA and a Ming NECA and all the Masters of the Universe stuff. And, you know, AWOC, like there's some stuff that'll work straight up. It'll just fit in.
Yeah.
But like, I can't fit in. I don't know. I was looking at, even though he's slightly out of scale, like the Yondu, the Guardians of the Galaxy, more closer to the comics that I remember as a kid looking at those Marvel Universe encyclopedias, super sci-fi or whatever. And so I feel like he could go in here, but it's a weird thing in my brain where I was like, no, but that's Yondu and it doesn't work. I don't know. For some reason, so I can't totally explain to you what the rules are, but that's generally a rule.
Fit aesthetically. And then the other rule is if it doesn't kind of mesh with what you need, and you can't get past whatever that nostalgia is that's attached to that, you can't put it in there.
Yeah. I think that's right. I can't in my brain get past that. Yeah.
It has a different connotation in your head than you want to put it out.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. Let's go with that.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Sounds good. So, what are things you'd like to do with your toys that you don't currently do?
Start opening them.
We'll come to that later. That's fun.
Here, I'm going to clear this off. Speaking of not opening, there's something that I've been wanting to open that that I just haven't. So I'm going to do that. But what do I want to do with them that I haven't? What I want to do, one of the things is use them as game pieces. And I'm not, that is not my excuse to talk about the amazing Primal Battle Animal Warriors of the Kingdom game that people should check out that has gone up for pre-order. But you know, I mentioned earlier at the start, like, when was the last time you had fun? And like, I had a blast, for example, today with my two sons playing Super Mario. And the world is there and you get sucked in. It's aesthetically gorgeous and you're playing. There's sort of objectives. You're working together. Cool. Another part of that is my kids love games. So they're like, you know, aunts, uncles will occasionally give us a game to try. And we love it. And so games are rad. And the idea of mixing your toys into that is amazing. Coming back to Micronauts real quick, we picked up as kids a garage sale find. It was a Micronauts board game, worth the Google, people. And it was all cardboard, this cool like 3-story
3D,
level, and it and they had like cardboard figures of what they call the time travelers, little figures, but they're in scale. So you could use your figures if you could get Micronauts to stand up for longer than 3 minutes. But that early on was like, oh my God, I'm moving this figure that I love through this thing. And it kind of works as a play set. There was something in there that was like, this is awesome. Can I do this with all of my toys?
Yeah.
And so the idea that folks like Jeremy, who's in the chat I saw, right?
Yeah, he's here.
Him and his brother are doing a board game where you actually do that, or Dom from Toy Domination is sort of doing that too. Love it. Like,
doesn't it kind of give you a different way of engaging with your toys? I mean, for me,
totally. Yeah.
I've got the 3 different ways. I've obviously got, you know, obviously the collecting, which is the first thing. Then the second thing is making customs. And the third thing is photography and doing dios and that kind of stuff, which kind of ties into all that other stuff. But it's another way for me to play with my toys, and actually might even get my son involved to play with a game with me.
How rad is that?
It's another way to connect with other people in the community, because I can guarantee you that you, me, Adam, and probably several other people are going to be doing games online at some point.
You heard him say it. He can't back out now.
I won't back out.
You're forced to play with us.
We just gotta put it at the right time, and I can do it.
I know.
4:00 on a Sunday, I can't do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, the closest I got to sort of playing games with adults, because I actually never played true D&D growing up, and I've just sort of watched others play. That's some really shady experiences as a kid, actually, of like, there's something up with you when the D&D kids won't let you play with them.
It's okay. So Adam's asking about clearance figures.
What about
you think those are a problem for you?
There was a moment when they, I mean, no, in the sense of, if you're saying, oh, clearance figures, I must buy this. I've had a couple of moments where I've bought certain things because they were cheap, but never, not something that I wouldn't necessarily have bought anyways for XYZ reason. I think it made me, I'm trying to think of what I've gotten. Like the Mummy set from NECA is one of those things. I'm not going to reach for it, but
it's accessory kits, but those can be used for something else, though. So
well, exactly. And like, should I really have that? Like,
that is the perfect example of why I got this. I didn't buy it for the RoboCop. I bought it for the chair because it's going to go in a display. It is going to be there because it has those connotations that I had when I, from the comic, from Dr. Mindbender's lab. So
I mean, I have like 3 Evil Lins from Masterverse, the first ones, and like I think 2 Skeletor that were clearance.
Yeah.
But I will do something with those. I have like that's
Well, I mean,
that's a thing, but not. I think
the
maybe
other
I
day
can count.
I stopped at Target. Okay.
Okay,
I
always
wasn't going to.
dangerous.
It's always dangerous. It is a
Uh-huh.
bad idea for me to ever go to a Target physically, because I walked in and they had a Stinkor and a Scare Glove,
Uh-huh.
and they
11
had them on
bucks.
sale for like $15.24.
Okay.
So you know what
Oh,
happened?
these are Origins.
Now these were the Masterverse.
Okay, cool.
So I got a second set. So now I have 2 of each. So I was like, on sale, I gotta buy it.
Yeah, you're gonna customize Stinkor to become Mephitor,
It's
and
just one of those things where it's a trap. It's a trap, and I need to learn that it's a trap.
Ooh, bummer. Look at this.
Oh,
A little bit of the wonk. That's fine. Gotta heat that up and.
Yeah, well, you heat it up, it should go back to where the shape.
Oh, but it's loose. Look how loose that bad boy is. Anyway, but whatever, joy. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah,
all that
exactly.
much. No, the clearance thing, there was a moment, I think, when I was starting, I was like, ooh, I should get this, I should get that. But I will tell you, like, what it did was make me slow down on Masterverse for a little bit. Because it was like, well, let me just wait till it goes on sale or on clearance.
Yeah.
And so but generally not a thing.
Not an issue.
And I will tell you, like, the price and all that kind of stuff, after doing Lego for 20 years, if anybody is familiar with shopping for Lego or whatever, a couple of things. Sales are limited. They happen, but they're not, Lego pretty much has like their prices, and generally, you're not getting deals by going to Target. Sometimes they have sales, like if Target does like
so they'll do like a 5 or 25.
But then
25 get $5 off. Yeah,
right. Or you can go to a Lego store and get the VIP points. But the point is, they're not cheap toys. So then when I switched over, and I haven't really bought Lego, I bought some stuff for the kids.
Lego and Playmobil, those were the things that were kind of designed for that age, that 8 to 12 maybe, and they always tended to be more expensive.
I think it's because they were like European companies, and no, totally. And I think ultimately my point was, it was reverse sticker shock when I started getting action figures.
Yeah, I'm spending $100 on this, and I get 4 of these, but I get 1 kit.
Even for
Lego is not
Mythic Legions, like people, and I get it. Like, we've talked about it ad nauseum about, like, it's true, they are pricey figures compared to a lot of things. But if you do the pre-order, like tomorrow, there's an in-stock sale, you're going to get figs at those prices of like $37. When at my Target today, there's a Too Bad is still, he was on sale for a little bit, but now he's back to $40.49.
You got that Bay Area pricing though. They add an extra $20.
They do. No, they added a couple of bucks. No, but really, like,
it's not a couple bucks. It's like 10 to 15.
No, Too Bad. What is Too Bad at retail over there?
32 by me.
Okay, $8. But 32 is still 32. For no offense, I love Masterverse, but that's a Mattel PO. That's a Mattel toy. Versus, like, you can go tomorrow and get a $37 Mythic Legions that has like head-to-toe paint apps that are like wild.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there was a little bit of reverse sticker shock.
I get your point.
Yeah.
Shut
up, Rick.
No, I would never say that.
No, I know.
No. So it's space and money. I'm going to give you the magic question. In psychology, we would say, if all your problems went away today, what would you do? But in toys, I'm going to say, if space and money weren't an issue, what would you collect?
If space and money weren't an issue.
Were not an issue.
I would go easily. I can tell you this, like, boom. Shogun Warriors. Really? 70s toys. My brother had a couple of them. And I don't know where they got lost to, but those to me are like, in my brain, those are the toys still. They were huge. I have
I know what you're talking about. I remember those things.
They did a Mattel Creations Skeletor.
Yeah.
And I think they did He-Man too, but I got the Skeletor one, and it's chilling in my classroom. Again, one of those things that
the kids don't see. Like, what is that?
Don't even notice.
Yeah, of course.
But it's huge. It's in my room. Why is this thing not sticking? Am I not doing? But I would get all of them. I'd get the vintage ones. I'd get anything in that form factor, like Super 7 made like a Boba Fett. There's a Stormtrooper, but definitely old vintage ones, including the Rodan, Godzilla, Raideen. Who else was there? Mazinger Z. Was there a Grandizer? I think there was a Grandizer. Like, yeah, I would totally get those. And sorry, can I add? I'm going to add the Chogokin, Bandai's big robot combiners. Like so, like for example, the Matchbox version of Voltron that came out here was originally a Bandai toy, and that was a whole line of giant robots. Like any, what do they call them? Basically, the giant robots,
battling robots, kind of thing.
Yeah, there's like the Chogokin in the. There's a word that I'm not remembering, but my cousin had some. My other cousin Adrian had a couple of them that he brought when they moved from the Philippines, because they would get them from there from Japan and China, and they were like huge. Those were like, you build them up and they were like this big, die cast parts. And for the most part, especially for the time, they looked like the things that we were seeing on screen.
Yeah.
And they've got all of them.
I remember those Matchbox Voltrons. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah. And so they were that thing, if you remember what that was like they had everything. They had Voltus 5. They had all the ones that they had Mazinger Z. They had just all of these robots. And so those things can go for like
they're ridiculous.
Crazy money. I saw some dude here who had Voltus 5. Voltus 5 was big in the Philippines. And some dude at a San Jose show had one, and he was like, I was like, hey, how much you asking for that? They're like 2,000 pesos. But they were like, no, dude. Yeah. So I would get those.
Yeah.
And that's what I love Super 7, by the way. So I'm up here in South San Francisco, which is like, it's next to San Francisco. It's its own municipality. Super 7 has a store, and they've had a store ever since I moved up here. But back then they were just a magazine, and their magazine was focused on those toys, kaiju toys, robot toys, Japanese toys. And I would go into that store all the time because they had a lot of those toys on display, and they still do. And that's what I would collect, man. And I would get Jeremy and his brother to make me rules for a game, and we'll set up a huge room.
With giant robots.
It'll be like that scene in Harry Potter where they're like doing that, like, giant chess game.
Giant chess game, yeah.
Zach, Jeremy, please work on the rule set for that.
So, favorite all-time toy line and why?
Jeez. Right now, this is I don't know what. Anyways, favorite all-time toy line. I think it goes back to, like, I'm just gonna not say Lego. It is Lego, but I'm gonna not say that for the action figure side of things.
No, it's okay. If it's Lego, it's Lego. It's your.
Well, it's Lego.
It's whatever toy it was that.
Yeah, well, I wanted to talk action figures too, because I wanted to talk your ear off about Micronauts again. But let me say, and they're both for similar reasons.
Yeah.
Did you ever get a chance to play Micronauts, or are you familiar with how they work?
With a couple of the figures, but I mean, honestly, the 80s there was just so many toy lines that I I had at least one figure of. It was kind of like Crystar and some of those other ones that I just had like a single of. Just because it was, obviously it's whatever my, family member could find at the time, and just said, whatever, we'll get this,
Well, the whole thing with there's a couple of great things about Micronauts, but I will just say the first thing is that, like Lego, the reason I think they're very similar is they're totally modular.
Yeah.
Like that was the pop and swap before these guys. Like you could pop off Micronauts parts. They were designed with these plugs, the standard plug, and all the vehicles and stuff. You could take them apart and basically make them into whatever you wanted to. And so the conceit of them originally, they came from a Japanese line called Microman, which was also later, like a lot of those toys became Transformers.
Yeah.
So anything that you saw in Transformers that was like a shrunken down thing,
Whether that the
like
headmasters kind of thing.
more even before then, Megatron shrank down to a gun. Perceptor was a
Yeah.
telescope. Those ones were from Microman, and then the other ones were from Diaclone.
Okay.
But these Japanese toys that they brought over. The whole idea with Microman is that you shrunk down to this hero, and there were little robots, and there was like this secret sort of war happening in this smaller world, right?
Yeah.
Right in front of our noses. And so when they got brought over, the whole idea was like they were taking place in like this microscopic world. And anyway, all of their vehicles you could take apart. Some of them turned kind of into guns, like, you know, and so they were made to be pulled apart, mixed around. And so Lego, same thing, right? It was a take it apart. What do you want to build? And I think that satisfied my like, I want to create stuff brain, as well as I want to play with stuff, kind of like storytelling thing.
Yeah.
And both of those toys were huge. So from the action figure perspective, that was the beginning of the pop and swap in my brain. And that's when I saw these and learned about that aspect of these toys. Like this, like it's just like, this is I've shown you this before. This is, we do the pop and swap thing, but working with Headhunter Customs to do these like plugs that will take Super 7 heads and I can plop them on here. To me, that's like the coolest thing.
Yeah.
I just made my toy. Like, I know you customize, right? So you're like legit making, like manufacturing toys or transforming toys. But for me, the idea is like, I've got parts, like move them around, mix and match, like you do you, right? So, Micronauts.
Well,
Look
it
them up,
allows
kids.
you to kind of get the toy that you want.
Yo.
Versus the toy that you're given, or the options. But in my brain, when I see a toy, it's particularly clearance toys. I look at them and I'm like, oh, I can use this part and that part and that part.
Yep.
Do this with that, and I'm good.
And that's got a whole like, and that customizing is a whole other sort of like thing where it's like craft, it's like real crafty. This is like there's a system and it works. But I love that too. If I had the space for it, like I've done.
I honestly did not think I would really like the Mythic Legions, but as soon as I got one, it was done. Because I saw how it works and I kind of played with it and got it apart. And, once I saw it, I was like, okay, I'm done.
This thing right here, man. So like I've been sitting on this accessory set. It actually was sitting in my pile of loot like forever because it missed like one big order and it just sort of sat there. And then I had it shipped because I was like eager to open it up. And of course, it's still sat here. And then I was heading down to the Mythic meetup in Sacramento. I was like, I'm going to bring this because Nate's going to be there. I'll get him to sign it. Got too shy and dorky and didn't ask. So brought it home and opened it up. Sorry, that goes back to the Maya Briggs, right? Socially awkward.
Socially awkward. I don't want to bother you with this, sir, but would you sign this?
Yeah. This is cool though. I just want to take so he got to design this.
Yeah. I kind of like the horns. It's cool.
Yeah. Cool. I don't have a moose and I'm not going for a moose tomorrow. But
you're tempted.
Oh, I'm totally tempted. If
that moose is tempting me too, but I'm just like, I don't have space for it. So
if to go back to your question, if I like had to go with something more current, I would just get a bunch of Mythic Legions because I think there's so many different pieces out there and they're beautifully made, and the whole pop and swap thing that it's basically like my Lego collection. I feel like if at one point you said you can no longer buy new ones, I'd be like, cool, because
Yeah.
I've got all these parts and I can swap them out. And unlike if I were to customize, like once I do it, it's there. And of course I could always change it.
Yeah.
But I could just endless combinations, man. Real quick, do you think is this cut broken or is that intentional? I think it's intentional.
Which part?
So check out his two little ponytail things, and that looks like an abrupt cut, doesn't it?
Maybe. Is there an extra chunk in the plastic?
I don't know. It's too hard to tell now, man.
I
guess I could look it up online.
Yeah, you'd have to look it up, see if that's supposed to be that way. I mean, it could just be a manufacturing defect.
But look at this helmet, like the painting on that.
There's just something about the way that they do their designs and the sculpts and how deep it is, and there's the paint that they use. It's definitely something cool.
This guy is too cool. I've been sitting. Oh, look at Paul Aldrin. Sorry, go ahead.
So, vintage line.
Vintage
that you'd
line.
like to see with modern design. I know. It's Micronauts. I'll just go over here and just sit in the corner and be quiet.
Yeah, definitely Micronauts. And plus the other ones that I would have said are done. I wish Black Series were as robust as the Kenner collection.
Yeah.
The Kenner's vintage Kenner stuff was, and I know I don't know, whatever, but in my perfect world there would be the same play sets to that scale, like, and the vehicles. Yeah, that's my other answer, man. If I had the space for it, like if we could get that TIE fighter that they made for the First Order, like give me that stuff. Yes. Give me a Millennium Falcon, give me a Ghost, give me a Razor Crest, give me a whatever, man. Like, get these ships on the wall, just bigger with more.
You're gonna have to reinforce the studs if you put those ships on the wall.
Yeah.
It's okay. So, is there any time that you see yourself not collecting?
Yes. I saw that question. I told you I could walk away.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I got a channel, so I'm doing what I'm doing, and I enjoy it. There will have to be a time pretty soon where I'm gonna have to start selling some stuff, and at some point, I can't have things in boxes or put away. I hate the idea of having toys that are somewhere, not out.
Mm-hmm.
That really bothers me. Like when I see your stuff or your intro with like all your toys out, that's awesome. It's all out. I know it's not all out, but a lot of it's out.
It's about 95% out. There's about 5% that I don't have space for yet.
Yeah. And we Bay Area homes here, this is like a 900 something square feet place, which is why a lot of my toys are at work. But it's ridiculous. And so totally stop collecting. Again, I don't know if there's a reason why I'm this way and can walk away from stuff, but I just think that rationally speaking, at some point I will have to.
Okay.
Whatever, it's fine. Like for me, at least, that's kind of why I have done the channel. I can't necessarily go back and capture some of the other things. Like I said, we still have some of our Star Wars and G.I. Joe stuff should still be in storage and some odds and ends. But I know along the way there are some pieces that I loved playing with as a kid that are gone.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so
I think
having
kind of
thing,
we lose some of that stuff as it goes. I mean,
yeah.
Like when I was 17, I had to give up all my Masters, my Thundercats, my Silverhawks, my Transformers. There just wasn't space for them where we were going.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to, put them somewhere else because, you know, I was going to go to college and there wasn't space where we were moving into. So
Yeah.
I had to make a choice, and it was a hard choice, and I kept my Joes and I kept my Star Wars.
Well, for me, that's where, on that note, like, I don't want, I know that that's a possibility again. And, you know, my kids do, I would like them potentially to go to college. So, I think it would make sense for me to get rid of some things at some point. And so having a channel where I'm, you know, shooting video of this stuff regularly, I'm on your channel playing with these things, that's great. Like, I have that memory and it's there. And at some point it won't be there. So I don't know.
So you kind of discussed that your stuff's sitting in boxes.
A bunch of stuff that, yeah.
What does that make you feel when you have that overwhelming backlog of stuff?
A little bit of embarrassment and shame, I think, in the sense of like, dude, why do I have this stuff? Like, some people don't ever get to enjoy toys, and I've got like toys in boxes, you know. And it's like, why did I pay for that if I'm not going to open it up? And the thing is, I know I will open it up. I will tell you right now, a lot of the reason is obviously work life is busy. Now that I'm hitting summer, some of that's going to come out. Just like if anybody's been paying attention, it's like, oh, right around the holidays, all of a sudden he's got a bunch of videos coming. And oh, right around spring, it's because of work is paused, right? So and part of it is,
does it feel overwhelming when
it does it when I think about it, but it does. Like, I feel that, and I feel like what's overwhelming is, like, right now, the reason I've been talking about and putting it out there in the universe to kind of like, it's me talking to myself about like, dude, you better get on this, is, well, first off, part of the delay is having a channel. Like, when I open, I want to be able to film it, right? So there's a level of work involved that it's not just like, oh, I'm going to crack this open. So this is a great excuse for me to just do this right now.
Yeah.
But so there's that thing. It's like, I'm not just going to open it and look at it. Like, I want to enjoy it, record it, and potentially enjoy it with other people, whatever. But what's really scary is I've got stuff in there. I was telling you before we started, like, dude, I haven't even touched Lord Bardrick. Like, I haven't touched Alithia. I know they're amazing. I've seen plenty of people open them up, and I watch those videos, but when I could just open mine up and play with it, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't opened. Who else haven't I opened? And then the All-Stars came in. So my one and only time I did an all-in, besides the Trolls, was with the All-Stars.
Having the channel kind of limits some of that joy?
It slows it down.
Okay.
It doesn't limit it. It slows it down. It puts it on a pace that, like, but so we're sorry, before I should just finish. I basically have Alithia stuff, right?
Yeah.
That I haven't opened. And the All-Stars came in, and the only ones I've opened were my extras of the tribute figures of Xenothon / what's his nuts? Stratos.
Yeah.
And Okatos Webstore.
Yeah.
Those are the only ones that I opened, and the only reason I didn't even do it on my channel was one of the streams that we were all on.
Yeah.
So I have a box of All-Star 5s all in, totally closed. I've never touched Dubon / Dubin for Adam. You know, like these great toys. And then there's so what's scary is Poxus is coming, Cosmic Legions is coming. You know, like
Cosmic's coming, yeah.
So I know it's just gonna get bigger. I've got a couple of the newest wave of Masterverse coming, Faker, Buzz Off, and like, it's ridiculous.
Well, and we know you're gonna get other stuff because it's gonna be the random stuff that we're gonna go through here in a minute. But it's here's some things. What I'm gonna say is I'm gonna use something that you as a teacher should understand. It's called homework.
Homework.
Now, in therapy, we would give homework generally at the end of a session, but we're not at the end of the session. But I'm going to give it to you a little early because I think it's going to help you. because it causes stress when it gets like that. I'm fully aware of that because I have to save it when stuff starts. If I start seeing a stack of stuff that needs to be opened, the clutter alone is stressful for me. It's one of those things that I had to kind of fight myself with. So the homework is you got to try to get to at least a figure a day.
Oh, jeez.
You can do it.
I'll tell you right now, I can't do that.
You can.
My schedule won't allow me.
You don't even have to film it.
No, my schedule won't allow me to do it, man. It really won't. Because no, not just that. It's like when I open it, I got to clean this stuff up too. Like I know that I won't be. I'm not trying to be negative. It's more about the reality is that I won't. Sorry, boss. I won't be able to do the homework. Okay. Sorry, teach. Sorry, therapist.
But
sorry,
try
rapist.
To make some efforts towards it every day. Something, even if it's not opening a figure completely. Maybe it's reorganizing.
I'll tell you
a little bit
that
of
gives me anxiety.
It's going to give you anxiety. It should be giving you anxiety that backlog is that big.
But should it though, or is that you putting that on me?
I'm not putting it out there because you make sure that you point it out quite frequently, so I know it's causing you anxiety.
Yes, it does. It does.
Okay.
No, but just the idea of any like you must do this daily. That's the quickest way to make me hate it. No, totally, because it's like now it becomes a chore / task that I don't want to do. That's how my
brain works. Isn't that kind of how it works, though? I mean, we all have those tasks that we don't want to do. And we fight it. No, it does, but we know it's good for us.
I'm fighting my therapist right now, guys.
Yeah.
I'm bad.
Okay. It happens. That's what we do. All right. So now
sorry, buddy.
Discussed homework. Let me get my cursor over to the other screen.
Discussed with homework? Yes.
We discussed homework, yes. All right, let me get to this.
That is a damn good looking strap. Look at that belt. Damn.
All right. We're going to go to this. All right. Now, these are some of these are the stuff that you've gotten. These two lovely gentlemen. Which did you get both or just one?
I did. I could still cancel them. I'm debating. I think I might cancel one of them. I think that's what I told myself, and then I didn't do it. Because there's other things to fit. They're awesome. And it's like, do I need two of the same thing? It's kind of like when I said...
Well, there's two different colors, though, right? Was that the justification?
Like
is that kind of what we do? We do with ourselves. Oh, but they're different colors. They have a different head.
Like the two different... like the two different trolls I have, and why is this fool right here looking at that forest troll tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
So bad. No, but right now, like I said, I haven't. But look at that.
Yeah,
that's amazing. But there may be some bovine from AWOC. That's the other thing now.
Yeah.
And I like Zezre. I do.
And I don't have any of their figures, so I would have been curious about their the engineering, and
they're fantastic looking. The plastic sometimes feels like like there's a give even on Mythic Legions.
Yeah.
I feel like it's so firm sometimes that it's gonna snap.
Yeah, that's not good.
And I also have, well, you'll see, I have some big other beasties coming. So
yeah. This was weird. I mean, I get why it's there because it's that they're trying to do Roman kind of mythology times kind of thing.
I don't think those are meant to be more historical.
Yeah, these are more historically accurate.
Yeah.
But it's still in their kind of wheelhouse kind of thing. But they look great.
You know that time when in ancient Rome when the Minotaurs were hanging out with legions?
Well, I mean, it fits that, obviously it's meant for that line, but it's, them trying to mix and match. Okay, here's your beasties.
Oh.
These look great. I love the blood effects. I love the claw effects.
I'll tell you, I wish actually they didn't have as much blood, but I do like them. I like the removable blood effects that you see down there. What I don't like is what's on his chest. That does bum me out a little bit.
Which part?
The blood stains on his the rips.
Yeah.
Only because I just feel like, I don't know, like that's a level of detail that I just feel like it doesn't go away. You know what I mean?
He's eternally
like,
damaged.
Yeah, kind of. Like I can imagine that, but whatever.
But you get this lovely little beastie arm.
So do folks know the story of this? Like, I don't know. See, this is why I like talking about this kind of stuff, right? Because some people do, some circles they do. In others, it's like Mattel, Hasbro, and that's kind of it, right?
Yeah.
So I love talking about this stuff with people, and then they're like, "Shut up." But
I mean, the panda bear alone to me is just fabulous.
So the story, yeah, like so it came out first with a bear, right? And it was actually a pretty different sculpt that they first solicited, and then they were saying, "This is they call themselves memory toys."
Yeah.
But with some of these, not all of them, but some of these import companies, some of them are like basically the same companies, but they go by different names, especially if they're doing non-licensed IP.
Yeah.
They'll sort of use like fake names and stuff, right? So sometimes I might be looking at toys from the same company, or the same artists, designers, and companies, but they're
not
anyway. So this one's under Memory Toys. And so the idea was you'd get the brown one, and then there was a chase variant of the panda.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there was a black one, and then BBTS was like, "Oh yeah, we're selling it too, but it's going to be a polar bear."
Yeah, I've seen the polar bear too.
Didn't have that armor. That armor is relatively new. It's like a month and a half or 2 months ago, where they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, you're getting armor."
Yeah. But that's so cool. I mean, it would work with. I mean, I like my anthropomorphic beasties, so.
Yep.
So it definitely would. Now the price tag makes me go, no.
Is anybody? I don't know if they're saying in the chat, but I know some people are cursing me for not warming these up. But
I think they'll be all right.
They don't got a choice. But yes, that memory toy thing, and the fun thing too is Fresh Monkey Fiction is releasing this line of. Have you seen those like sort of vampire soldier types?
It's Operation Monster Force.
Yeah, Operation Monster Force, and they announced they teased a new figure.
Pre-order, and then I've canceled the pre-order.
Oh, good for you.
But I do that routinely. I'll put a bunch of stuff on pre-order, and then I will just go through and have this like purge of like I don't need this. Why am I buying this?
Because that's the story with the Minotaur.
I think there was the period where I just was putting stuff on pre-order just to put it on pre-order because I might like it. So I think I'm going to wait until those actually come out, and then kind of see how people feel about them.
Well, the reason I bring them up is because they teased a figure, and it was just a silhouette of a figure, or maybe it's the backside of a figure. And someone pointed out, they're like, "Wait a second, isn't that the Memory Toys Fury Bear?" And they said, "Yeah, it is."
Nice.
So this same bear, at least the body, will be used in that toy line with a different head, I'm assuming. So like, again, I don't know what's going on with these companies and how they're working that all out, but I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, I kind of like when they do try something. I mean, it looks cool. At the end of the day, if it doesn't look cool, why would I buy it? Now here's your wolf.
See, you're getting into my rules now.
Yeah.
Number one rule: does it look cool?
Does it look cool? Second rule is, will it fit?
Yep.
Adam's giving me crap because I cancel all my pre-orders. You know what?
I know he's right about that. But
at the end of the day, it's like I put it on there and I really think I want it, and then I'm gonna second guess the shit out of myself until it comes out.
Are we allowed to say bad words? If so, then I'm going to stop censoring myself.
Well, you don't have to. I try not to say a whole lot of bad words, but
okay. Well,
I'm trying to.
Sometimes it's just.
I'm PG-13ish.
Okay.
I will occasionally drop.
I could do PG-13.
I try not.
Well, real quick for Adam, we are Retailer's Nightmares, but I know that also Adam is not the biggest BBTS fan. So if it helps you, Adam, I'm doing that mainly with BBTS.
Yeah, that's the only one I really do it with either. But most of the small stuff I prepay for all those pre-orders, so I don't really have to worry about the laters. Now this is this D20 on this?
Oh,
wolf?
Yes. That was one of my favorite toys of 2022, and probably one of my favorite sort of modern toys now.
Let me get over to
I can put it in the other camera too if it helps. But
no, it's fine. Hang on. Let me solo you. There you go.
And actually, of all the things, because you guys were talking about, it wasn't you, but other folks were talking about sort of the performance of videos. So I started looking, and apparently this one is the most popular. I think is the most popular unboxing video on my channel.
Well, it's because it's unique and it's not. I think people sleep on these lines. That's the thing.
Yeah. I guess so.
Because they're not Mattel, they're not Hasbro, they're not Mythic Legions. They're going to be, people get a little wary on when they start going into that third party realm and those independents that are really independents.
Don't be scared. The water's good. Just jump in.
And it looks great. If I had space for animals like that, I would. But that's one of those trade-offs.
D20, this company does these amazing animals, man. This was I haven't looked at the numbers on this. Oh, sorry. You can put that on the other camera for Nolan. Oh, but it's here.
Hang on. All right. There you go. Right. Yeah, and I love that boar too. That boar is tempting.
Yes, Nolan. It's the same company. We have any Studio Ghibli Princess Mononoke fans? Because that's what I thought when I saw this one and the wolf. Really,
I was thinking that would be great for a gnome or not a gnome, dwarf.
Yeah, 100%.
Dwarf ride. Yeah. So.
Yep. Oh god, I love these toys so much. That when I opened up that wolf, that absolutely, it was a super
visually interesting.
This totally doesn't make sense, but they're here.
It's something different. And just the armor, I mean, put the armor on them. That is a fantastic look. Same thing with the boar. I mean, it's great.
The armor's great. It's a little edgelord, but it's cool.
It's all right. Cool. I mean, it would work with. I mean, it would really work with Legions pretty well. So, I mean,
he says,
okay, you sent me this one.
Oh, that's one that I.
And I had already picked it out.
Yep.
Let me guess, because I kind of went through and I started looking at all these figures on stuff that I kind of figured out some of the stuff that you like, but this was cool. I really liked. I mean, that gives me samurai vibes, something fierce.
Yeah.
But it looks like it would fit in with Legions.
It feels very Chinese, actually, but yes, no. I mean, I see the samurai thing too. I could totally like the. But
now here's something that I found. This was on 5K Toys.
I've seen that too. Yep.
I was just
it's cool looking.
I mean, but it's Batman-ish. If you look at the head sculpt, it's definitely Batman influenced.
Isn't that's not a Spawn? I mean, that's not a McFarlane figure, no?
Yeah.
Looks like it could be.
Oh. All right, and here is your Fury Toys Master Splinter.
What are you talking about? That's not Master Splinter. That is not Splinter. That is
the Master.
Samurai Force is what they're called.
Yeah, okay.
Along with Autumn and Spring.
He doesn't want to get sued. No, but it's cool.
Yeah, man, that is Secret of the Nim. Secret of Nim.
Oh, yeah. Now, not to mention that. Yeah, Secret of Nim or a Great House Detective kind of thing. Yeah.
It's the feudal Japan Secret of Nim, and it's awesome. There was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. God, I think it was called A Winter Story, actually, speaking of seasons. And it was this like one weird story arc where they got this totally different artist to do like, what if they were more realistic looking?
Mm-hmm.
And this totally reminds me of that. I think it's called A Winter's Tale or A Winter Story.
All right, here's your gator.
Yes.
Yeah, the pants threw me off too. It's kind of like, I mean, it would be great for a Killer Croc.
There's no blue jeans on Eternia unless that's what is that what Real Blast is wearing? Maybe Real Blast is wearing jeans. I don't
It's
know.
possible, but you could paint that.
It's true. I thought about it, but then it's got. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no.
Maybe not.
All right, and here is another Sun
Oh,
Wukong.
this is the sad tale of Sun Wukong for and Brick. I had him on. I had 2 of him on pre-order from November, and it was taking hella long. It was starting to come out. People were getting it in hand, and BBTS was like, because they're just waiting on it to arrive to them. And it was right around that time where it was like, hey, there's a new Cosmic Legions wave. Oh, hey, Savage Crucible, like that's going now. And that massive Masters of the Universe drop post April 1st, when there was a little bit of like, oh no, maybe this will be a limited thing, and they're just dumping all their product. So like I was like, man, I got to free up some money, and I don't even know if this thing's showing up. It's like on so many people that I respect's like favorite toy of the year kind of thing. And it's like these things are big for me. Like I will tell you, as an Asian person, like it's huge for me to sort of see Asian-based characters, whether they're based on folklore and anthropomorphic animals or humans. Like that's a huge deal to me. Like even as a kid, that one Bespin guy that we got in those Kenner line was a huge deal for me and my brother. And so I don't know, there was something about this where I was like, dude, Gung Fu, I love Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong was one of those things as a kid that I was aware of, not because like we read Journey of the West or anything, but like they were in pictures and stuff around, like whether they were like traditional like painting type stuff that we'd be exposed to, or like cartoony stuff. There was Star Zingers, which was this one of the first anime I think I ever saw when it was brought here as I think Space Cateers, was based on the Wukong story. Even like the main character was human, but he had that same crown, and then later Dragon Ball. But anyway, I was a big monkey kid. I don't know when that started. Yeah, and it's cool. I will say the face was the one thing that like some people were like, yo, that's a better, superior face sculpt. I'm like, I actually don't. That's the thing. I'm not super crazy about that face. But do you happen to have the deluxe version?
It's a little more human.
Do you have the mask? Oh, you don't have the mask.
I don't.
So there's there's a mask that comes with it. Amazing. You don't have the angry one either.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Anyways,
save them for space.
There's a reason that I ordered 2, was because
you wanted both faces.
Yeah, I want to be able to display them. Anyways, moving on.
All right. So here's another Fury Planet. I like this one, but this is where it lost me.
Yep. But you know the but, right?
Yeah, hang on. I saw this one.
Wait, is that the same one?
No.
No, okay. I was going to say no.
But it's by, I think it's 5K. It's another company on 5K Toys. It might be D20.
But no, what is that?
Oh, this is Coup Toys. Yeah.
Coup model. Coup
model.
That's cool. Yeah. That's cool.
That one's cool. That one I can work with.
Go back to Veteran real quick. Veteran William, whatever his name is, please. Yeah. So it actually comes with all the parts to do him completely naked.
Yeah.
Had I known that, and I'm glad I didn't, because I skipped it and I saved money. But had I known that, I would have totally gotten it. But that's cool. It has all the parts so that you can do a completely bare.
What's funny is when I was looking through for stuff to talk about, I stopped on these guys and I pulled one picture. But I looked for something similar to it somewhere else. Pulled another picture. These are the things that I kind of, when I talk to you, this is what I get when I talk to you. These are the things that Brick likes. So it was.
Yeah.
Now we have this one. You sent me this one. This is fantastic. I'm sorry, but
Don't be
this is
sorry.
so tempting. It's
And
tempting.
again, for me, it was like, oh, cool. We're gonna go into sort of like Chinese, and in some cases Japanese, but Asian influences, right? And so that was the thing. It was like before Sun Wukong, that didn't exist in Mythic Legions.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of like sort of kung fu fantasy stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it's all like knights, like very European looking knights and armor and stuff, which is fine. It's cool. I can get down with it. Barbarians. But like this, like it means a lot to me. Even with the armor bits, and it's a very stylized.
I love this look right here.
Yeah, man.
There's something very cool about it.
So go back one. I'll tell you the reason why I didn't order this, and I have yet to order it. Just zoom into the feet. That worries me.
What? Okay.
Just like,
okay.
How is this thing going to stand?
So he's on his balls of his feet?
Yeah, and that's a big, beefy boy. So
that's going to be way top heavy.
I worry about it. Yeah, so I kind of want to see what the reviews are like, and also like, are they putting ankle joints in that? And if they are, like,
be wobbly. Yeah.
But it's gorgeous. I love it. I posted a bunch of those to like different Discords today, just because they released like some of the concept arts of the other animals and a sculpt of the rabbit that they're doing. And but
you got this chunky boy here. Is this the pre-Armies of Ashmore kind of chunky boy?
It is actually. What are they called? Battle. Oh geez, battle.
I think I've got. I think. Hang on. Let me go. This one.
What's the name of the corner? Oh, that's. I think it's like Battlefield Dinos or something like that.
Yeah, Battlefield Dinosaur.
Yeah. So that was the PowerCon exclusive.
Well, I went when you sent that to me. I was like, I had already pulled this guy just because it was something. Because I talked about Armies of Ashmore with Oz last week, so I was going to retread. Yeah. But as soon as I saw these, I didn't know that that's what this was until I did a little research on it after you sent me the photos.
And again, this is one of those things where, oh wait, sorry, you're going fast, man. Sorry, I'm slowing you down. But that thing was that Carnotaur came out first, the one to the right, and the head is very penile to me, and it just looks a little like. It looks a little odd. It's cool looking. I've seen great reviews of it, but
it's a little small.
It looks like a penis, but the
scale looks a little off on that one. This one looks better.
Yeah, that's the Tyrannosaur, the T-Rex. But again, it's one of those things where it's like it's same, in my opinion, as the D20, where they put a lot. I saw Bill Dorklair do a review of these things, and it's just like it's almost laughable how customizable, or like how many different options you have. Like every little peg you can take out, every little stud you can take out. And I look at that guy, I was like, he's like, I like the concept. It's super overdone. There's like a lack of, in my opinion, like elegance. Like I look at these things, right, with AWOC. Super elegant. Like I think that's like the perfect balance in my head of sort of like
simplicity and complexity.
Yeah, that thing is just like, at a certain point, I don't even know what I'm looking at. Like you could barely tell that that's a dino.
Yeah, you can. Well, yeah, it's one of those things. But this one you can. It's a little better.
No, you can tell because he's naked. Well, I'm saying when you see with all that armor on, it's like so much. Yeah.
Now this is the Cenozoic ones, right?
Yeah, man.
You sent me the photo, and they're just animals, right?
They're doing different periods, yeah. So they have Beasts of the Mesozoic, and now they're doing they're going to move into Beasts of the Cenozoic, and they're really going for the whole realistic
animal. Yes.
Yeah, the realistic dinos. I have one, and that's one of those that I still haven't opened. But I've had it for maybe a year now. But anyway,
you should open that one first.
Could we go up to Jeremy and highly articulate it going back and forth? And I think someone's calling someone a racist. I love those conversations are fun to
Hang
have.
on.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
We'll go up. But
This is straight Japanese. Jeremy
these
said.
are interesting. There's just something different about that. Just I do like beasties, but
Are you familiar with those at all? That line?
I've seen them. I hadn't really dug really deep into
Okay.
them. It's kind
Only
of
because that render makes it look like it has no articulation points, but they're articulated. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that. Okay.
And then we get here.
This is the Legion's Con exclusive, I'm assuming.
And they no, it was just a prototype. This stuff is not yet ready. They just showed concept art there and some things in progress. Okay. And so they're taking their dinos and
Dino Riders,
ridering them up.
Yeah, I see Dino Riders,
but very modern, and like all of those armor bits, at least in the concepts, sort of transform into their own ships. And in some cases, they can if I'm looking at the Raptor versions correctly, the armor can come off and kind of become their own mech and then sit on the dino.
Nice.
Yeah. That's cool. And then there's this. For some reason, there's also dragons.
What is this?
That's part of that same line, apparently. It's called... Oh, what is it called? Cyberzoic.
Really?
Yep.
Tommy the Arctic Dragon. So
that thing will not fit on this table that I'm at right now. That thing looks like it's what, 2.5 feet long.
Yeah, it's massive. But I like it. It's cool looking.
Gorgeous. Like that is the thing that I'm putting away money just waiting for, and I probably will not have the space for it. But like that is
like a dude.
That's just yeah, but that's like a unique take on a dragon. Like it's furry-ish, like it's got like gorilla-esque parts.
Well, that's when I'm looking at it. The front shoulders, yeah, it's definitely gorilla-ish in those front shoulders, and maybe the way that it's sitting, and that could just be the way that it's sitting. But
related the departure. If you watch on Netflix Dragon Prince at all?
I think I may have seen 1 or 2 episodes.
Okay. Anybody in the chat, if you haven't, check out Dragon Prince. If you want to and you don't care about the story, like scroll through to like maybe the end of the season 1 and look for the dragons. It's just like this dragon and the dragons in there are just some of the most gorgeous like versions of dragons that I've ever seen. They're not, they're...
Oz is right. When I'm looking at this, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Very Monster Hunter.
Yeah. I don't we have a Nintendo Switch, and that's a relatively new thing since the last holiday. But I watch video game stuff all the time, and Monster Hunter, surprise, is one that I just like watch trailers of and gameplay of just because I think it's so cool.
That's the kind of beasties. Okay, here's what you sent me.
Oh, see, this is why Adam and I get along so well. We both have great taste. Even though he thinks my taste is horrible, but that's fine. Sorry, do you see that one?
This just looks like an orc from World of Warcraft to me.
Okay, sorry. Can we just highlight that one so I don't sound like a crazy person? Do you see his chat? Look at yeah. See, I'm not alone. And then,
I have so much backlog on videos and movies.
You can watch it with your kids. It's great storytelling. It's really like great teachable moments for me and my adolescent and soon to be adolescent kids, just sort of talking about stuff. It's cool. Anyways, it's great. There's a production company and the people involved with Avatar: The Last Airbender, if that helps sell it.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll watch more than 1 or 2 episodes. Usually if I'm watching it, it's just I turn it on and then my mind is somewhere else for like 4 hours, and then I'll look back up. Oh, are you still here? So that's kind of how movie watching and show watching works for me. Oh, Adam's starting stuff. Here it goes. Your tastes are fine. Your opinions, on the other hand. Oh.
It's fine. Actually, I'm curious. Have you gone through the chat? I'm kind of curious. I have been briefly going through it. Okay. Hi, folks. Sorry, I don't mean to ignore you.
We're not ignoring the chat. It's just we're having a good conversation. So
cool.
I'm
just genuinely curious. The reason I'm curious is because you and I have talked about this. Like, not necessarily everyone talks about these toys that we're looking at.
No, and
so I am kind of curious just to hear how it hits folks. But whatever.
We're seeing some people that have obviously some of them already knew, like Nolan. I kind of figured he would know.
True.
He's everywhere, like I am sometimes. So
yeah, highly. Sorry, Adam highly encourages us to continue to cancel the pre-orders over at BBT.
Yeah, exactly. He did. He was like, cancel those. Go ahead. Yeah. It's just one of those things. Sometimes I want something, and then some days I come back and go, my brain is like, you know what? No, we're going to override that, just because you thought you wanted it. Okay, so this is one that I saw on 5K Toys. And it is straight up World of Warcraft in the scale that I would like. Doesn't look. It's so nice.
Do you play WoW at all?
I do not, but
okay. I don't either. I did Warcraft and StarCraft.
Yeah.
But apparently those are World of Warcraft actual, like, basically unlicensed figures.
Yeah. And they look great. You take a chance though, because it's.
Oh, you mean in terms of like the company and stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's the other thing. I rolled the dice like with D20, and so far I've been happy, and I know.
Well, but they're not producing licensed stuff. Generally, with licensed, quote unquote.
Oh, licensed. You're saying you roll the dice as to whether or not it's going to get made.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. It's on 5K Toys, Adam. You'd have to look it up. I cannot recall, and I think it's a 6 and 6.5 inch scale.
It's but these guys are ogre scale ish. They're about ogre scale, Adam, and they run around $100. And show them them.
Well, here it is. It's 196 millimeters. Adam, you use millimeters. You can figure that out.
Yeah, he was telling me the temperature there one time, and he did me the courtesy of just telling me the Fahrenheit, because I was like, in my head I knew he was in Canada, so I was like, wait, that can't be right. Anyways,
so yeah, see, I got a picture of how big it is. All right.
Wait, you missed one. Go back.
Where?
I think you before that. So this is before that. A la izquierda, to the left. There. No. This one. That is an orc too. So that is also from World of Warcraft.
Yeah. He's just the brown kind. Yeah.
Yeah, but that thing to me is I love this one. So that's another one from the same
line.
There's a series of orcs.
It's cool.
Yeah. Did you see that McFarlane caveman Batman thing that's coming out? It reminded me of that.
I talked about that with Chris.
Yeah, I just love the monstrous kind of features of this thing, and like that to me could totally work. The orcs. So here's one that will. This is where I have good taste but bad opinions, I'm sure. I'm not a big fan of the orcs for whatever reason. And so again, it's one of those things kind of like Yondu, where it's so stuck in a particular thing. It's very Warcraft to me.
Mm-hmm.
Or even in Mythic Legions, I see them, and in my brain, it's like, ready to serve. Yes, my lord. For the horde. But I don't know. They're awesome looking, but not my thing.
Yeah, something different. All right, now we got to get into 80s nostalgia. Now, they've made figures of these, but I've seen the figures.
They suck.
They're just eh.
They suck.
But I would kill for a Thundar and Ukla, and yes, very much.
Yep.
That would be
Ariel
to get one that was.
And they're steeds. So Ukla has the dopest, like, mutated horse.
Go back.
I don't think we have a picture of it.
This was one of those cartoons as a kid that I made sure it was on at like 7:00. So I got up early on a Saturday to watch this one.
Yep, I was all about that. That was Masters of the Universe. That was I was gonna say Jack Kirby, but like wasn't Jack Kirby did concept art for this, I believe. So it's like it was very Kirby, very like there are robots, there are, you know, energy swords, there are all of that stuff. It's New Gods mixed with Star Wars, mixed with whatever. Is he talking about this picture?
I think so. We're gonna have to have words with him because he's insulting our childhood.
I mean,
What's
you're
he talking about?
insulting. I don't know. Well,
Hanna
not Jack
Barbera,
Kirby because
man.
he didn't do the end, but that's Hanna Barbera, man.
Oh,
That's gorgeous. But yeah, I guess
all right. Hang on.
to
Let's
each
go
their own.
to that one. My Tour. Another
Mighty
one of
My
those
Tour.
Hanna Barbera shows. Very much He-Man before He-Man.
That's
Kind of
Cassia
thing.
before Cassia is what that is.
Yeah. Love the dragon.
Yeah, when I saw Cassia and Mythic Legions, I was like, "Oh my god, that's my tour. That's my tour vibes."
Yeah. I mean, there were so many. And here's Black Star. This is this was one of those ones that definitely, I think, needs to get retouched.
Mm-hmm. And this is modern rendering of it.
Yeah.
It didn't look like this back in the day, but
No, of course not. It looked like that.
yep. Yes,
But
one of my children drew this as well.
I mean, there's so many things that you kind of that they kind of transferred, and you could see all of these things kind of coalescing together. You could see where they took different aspects in Masters, especially with the Filmation cartoon.
Mm-hmm. Are you at all familiar with Mega Custom X?
Mm-mm.
So he does custom origin stuff and Masterverse stuff. He does a Black Star, like all the parts for the sword that he can scale up to Masterverse, or you can do in Origins.
Mm-hmm.
It's gorgeous. He does Conan in Origins. He does and so I wanted to do that. I will go back to him and circle back and make a Black Star. But yeah, Black Star's dope. Just like when I was like saying that thing about, you know, having Asian characters, Black Star, folks don't realize that Black Star was black.
Yeah.
And like even if you look at sort of the other characters, and that was huge to me too. I'm assuming Black Star is like maybe a Marcus Garvey reference, maybe not. Like the Black Star liner, but obviously not in this picture. But
of course not.
But it was huge, man. I was
just
into Black Star.
Dragon Mount, and I'll be good.
Yeah, and I guess like it kind of got sidelined because He-Man was coming out.
Yep. He just
racist. Oh, sorry.
But there was a lot of themes, if you look at it, that were kind of transferred in those kind of, I'm sure they were poached themes.
Peace, happy accident.
There was a lot of, taking this and changing it 20% so we didn't get sued.
Oh, okay, you mean concept wise?
I don't think I have ever seen this.
Oh, you have. You have to. If you saw Thundar, if you saw My Tour,
yeah,
they would cycle them in. So it was a show. It was like the Hanna-Barbera, I forgot what they called it, but they would cycle them in. Some days it would be a Shazam episode. Some days it would be a My Tour episode. Sometimes it would be I forgot what they were called, but they had like these three space sort of superheroes. Then it would be Space Ghost, or I'm sure you did it. Probably just don't remember. But so these were,
it's highly possible.
These were 60s.
Yeah.
Like that's when this stuff was happening. And these were all Alex Toth.
Yeah.
Created stuff. Alex Toth, another like genius. Not necessarily folks know him in the same way they know Kirby, but like to me, it's like he's up there with Kirby as far as creating characters. Just like super prolific illustrator, and like super prolific in terms of once he started working with Ruby Spears. They were just like, okay, what other characters can you churn out? Can you do this? And so all of that, My Tour was his, Space Ghost was his, Shazam was his, Johnny Quest was his. Yeah, man, his stuff was.
Yeah, Hanna-Barbera definitely took a lot of those.
Oh, sorry. Was it Hanna-Barbera? Yes, you're right. Sorry. That was Hanna-Barbera. Thundar was Ruby Spears. But yeah, man, his stuff was amazing. The way he drew figures, and it was like super consistent. You see the art direction, which we didn't name this earlier, but aesthetically, that's kind of another thing with me is they kind of have to look like maybe they were drawn by a certain group of artists. It's a comic book thing.
That's the funny thing about a lot of those late 70s, early 80s cartoons aesthetically, especially Hanna-Barbera, that all had that similar kind of look.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell that they were, using the same. Now, this is another one of those that's definitely,
Yeah, I always have that same reaction. I was on Largo's Beasties, what is it? I forget what they're called, something in Beasties show with him where we went over a lot of these, and I had these same reactions, and I swear it's not just me being corny and like fake. Like I see these things and I was like, oh, we need these. I love these. Yeah. I have that Ratatouille like thing again where I'm like, oh, I remember watching these as a kid. And I'll say this, I don't know what it says about me, but I do wear clothes all the time, but for some reason I'm attracted to these half naked people. And don't know what it is, but freedom. Like
it's freedom. Make me half naked.
Yeah, it's like here's He-Man with like full pants, but he has no shirt on.
There was always something charming about these. There still is. It's something charming about these.
I like the one with the names too. Come on, guys. Like Zoc, Egu, Gloop, Gleep. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, it was, And
I love Swiss Family Robinson.
Where the thing shot out of the horn. I would love a toy that did like the little rock shooting out of the horn. That'd be cool.
Yeah, you poke your eye out.
Those kind of fun things.
This was totally Swiss Family Robinson meets Barbarians in space. It was awesome. Giant, gorilla. This is like AWOC before AWOC. This is Thundercats before Thundercats. This was He-Man before He-Man. This was 1960s.
Yeah.
Anyway.
This was the stuff that I saw as a kid. Lawrence is giving me shit about keeping my show to an hour and a half.
Why? Is that a YouTube thing? Is there some secret?
No, it's more of a me thing. Okay. Now, I saw this.
I was going to say, Lawrence ain't keeping to an hour and a half.
No, Lawrence is 3 hours.
He makes us wait while he goes to pick up his kid. No, I'm just kidding.
But I saw this. This was kind of my foray as a kid. Battle of the Planets. Gotcha Man in Japan, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
This was my first kind of foray into Japanese animation.
It's anime? Yeah. Okay. So it was G-Force, right? Or Battle of the Planets G-Force with that abomination that is Seven's Arc 7. Yeah. Seven's Arc 7 is was like the Jar Jar Binks of the 70s. It was the Greedo. Oops.
But I saw this, and it's a Storm collectible, so I know the price range on it. But these were, Robotech, Voltron, Battle of the Planets. Those kind of shows as a kid were things that I really, really loved.
Hold on a second, I'm getting a weird audio issue that I know. What is it? Hold on.
Do what?
Hold on a second. Having audio issues here. Let me go ahead and disconnect. Can you disconnect the cam? Cool. We're good.
Is that better?
Yeah. Not
but better. When I saw this, I was like, we could talk about it because I have a feeling that this was something that,
Did I send this over or did you just guess?
No, I picked this one.
Okay. Because this, I did talk about this one time in one of the news sort of things that I do, but and I'm surprised I haven't gotten them yet. This is a perfect example where I love it at Storm Collectibles, so I know I'm going to love the figure.
Yeah,
but I do struggle with the idea of him being or them being on the shelf with some of the other things I have.
But thematically, I would say, he doesn't really fit with most of your stuff.
Yeah, until you get to like Manny Faces, right? I mean, maybe I don't know.
No,
but even this is gorgeous.
It's beautiful, but I struggle with the same thing. Oop, hang on, This is something I saw on 5K,
Mhm.
and it's a god of Hades.
Mhm.
I like the amount of accessories, and I thought the purple was fantastic. That kind of drew me to it. Was that purple coloration and
Yeah, I agree, and I like the deco on the face.
Yeah.
It's kind of just cool looking.
So, and the price
These
wasn't terrible. I mean, I think it was like $69. It wasn't awful, relatively speaking.
There's a Zeus too, I think.
Yeah, there's a Zeus too, but I just saw this one, and the coloration is what spoke to me on this one. These are kind of some of the ones that I picked. Now this one, it's another.
I'm not sure about that one actually. Is that a figure, or is that not
it's a figure?
Not an existing figure.
It's a figure. But it reminds me. It's an Uruk. That kind of gives me it's a D20. So
Well, the reason was was this being solicited as a unique figure to sell, or is that the banner that's carried? Because that comes with.
I swear this was a figure that was for sale.
Because it comes with. There's a version of the wolf that is like an add-on that comes with that banner, and I thought they just used an existing Lord of the Rings figure.
They may have, but that banner is what I wanted. I didn't want the figure.
That was part of the D20 armor. If you remember from the D20 armor, it has like a saddle with a bunch of bones coming out of it, and that thing fits perfectly behind those bones, so it could work as a staff. And then
this is what drew me was this part. I just wanted the banner because that banner would be fantastic, just as a dio piece.
And I think I want to say that piece of fabric or whatever behind it might be flayed skin. Or no, that might be another piece. There's another piece where it's like stretched skin, the banner thing.
Nice. Anyway. Okay, now I don't know how familiar you are with heavy metal.
I am very.
Executive Replicas, I think, is this one.
Yep, Loose Collector, basically.
Loose Collector something, yeah. Mm-hmm. I immediately saw this and was like, yeah.
In terms of like just in general, you like it, or that this is totally a brick thing?
This was well, it's a brick thing, but it's also a me thing because this was one of my favorite. It was kind of that first foray into adult animation, and it was just cool stuff. And I loved Heavy Metal magazine, so it wasn't like it was, it was just something different at the time.
The thing that disappointed me with that movie was that she was not in it enough, and they would tease her sort of as this through line kind of. I think there were a couple of segments with her, but I always wanted more of a story with her.
I think it would have been cooler if we'd gotten a little more of that. Yeah, there was some other stuff that was just filler, and I could have lived without it. But
Thanos is
kind of how that was how the book worked, though. It was kind of like there's through lines, and it was kind of like they were trying for that visual. But okay, and then I got these. These are obviously Red Sonja would work really great on your shelf, maybe even Purgatory. But these are Dynamite Entertainments. Purgatory's okay. The Vampirella, she's obviously one of those ones that I, characters that came in the 90s kind of thing. Yep. But that Red Sonja is the one that I was peaked on because something's very interesting about that.
The thing with these figures, well, there's a couple of things. One, respect, like they're great sculpts. The sculptor I believe is from the Philippines, and Loose Collector is sorry, period. Aside from that, there's something about I guess I just need to sort of see what they look like, because that the figure of, gosh, what is her name from Heavy Metal? What is it? Tarna. The figures when they came out were like very different from that image right there and what was solicited. So I've heard these are better.
That's good.
And I've heard they've gotten better. There's also a character named Darna, which is a Filipino, like kind of a Wonder Woman type character that they made figures of that I've been eyeing and wanting. but I've just heard mixed things about the actual toy. So yeah.
Well, I don't want
Well,
to.
sorry, real quick. Can you bring up Adam's thing? This is the other issue. I'll be honest.
Where's that?
I'm not prudish or anything.
Which Adam thing?
I stepped away for a minute, and now you are objectifying women.
Oh,
So that's the other issue I do have with these figures.
well, I mean
is
that
they're
was. That,
yes,
these two are typical
100%.
90s stuff. The Red Sonja
No.
was always that way.
Yes, and so like I know it. I'm aware of it culturally, and like I get it. I'm fine with it. Like, you know, women are beautiful and all that, but you know, all of that stuff. But there's also like dudes did this, and it was an era thing. But because
I mean,
so
like
many of my
the Lady
figures,
Death one, it's the same thing. She's even more scantily clad. She's about like Vampirella. I mean,
I'm
be
just
honest.
pointing out though, because we were talking about how some of these figures, a lot of my figures are at my school. I wouldn't be able to put these on my.
Oh no, absolutely not.
So there's a couple of Legions ones I had, like and the Storm Collectibles Golden Axe too. But anyway.
Now, overall, the Almighty Legends is not my thing, but there's some really cool sculpts, and I love the wings.
It's funny.
Wings.
It's funny. I would have said it almost exactly the same way you just did.
But there's just some of that looks really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's it. But
did you at all make a move on those at all? The Almighty Legends stuff?
I did not.
Mm-hmm.
It overall, it was one of those things where, you know, there's some cool looks, but it's just not. Wasn't that thing for me.
Yeah,
I guess would be the best way to describe it.
Because I've seen them posting now that like those wings look great on other figures too. So I haven't really heard so much how that works. Like if they actually maybe fit into Mythic Legions or
holes and work.
Yeah, do they?
So
anyway,
anything else you think people are sleeping on?
Toys? I mean, I will just say in general, I know like, so let's go back to the nostalgia thing. I understand people wanting to get modern versions of the toys that they grew up with. And we have a love for those things. So, you know, I'm not at all begrudging folks for that. And I'm all for it. Like, I get it. That's what we grew up with. That's what we love. But what I do find interesting is that there's a whole lot of like hand wringing about like, oh, we need to make sure that like kids buy toys if we want these things to continue.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think there's we got to like open stuff up a little bit more, I think. So when it comes to what people are sleeping on, I think sometimes folks get a little too stuck on what's been happening in the past, where I think there's and I think there's a problem in that, because I think we end up in situations where people like you know, have strong reactions to any attempt to maybe modernize some of those properties, like I think with Motu Revelation, with the CGI show, with the She-Ra show. And I know people have other reasons for why they'll claim those are problematic or whatever to them. Yeah. But like for me, in many ways, it's just like, you know, move, get out the way. It's like make space for others. Like,
well, I think there's properties out there. AWOC is a perfect example of. I would have slept on it had it not been for you and Adam, because it wasn't something that really spoke to me. Just initial looking at it. Now, once I bought those first three figures, it was done. There was just something. They're very toyetic. They're very cool, and it just scratches the right itch.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect example of stuff.
I think that's one of those things is where when people don't try it, they got to try it and then maybe see if it works. Yep. You know, I can get it if let's say you're high fantasy and you don't want science fiction in your thing. Okay, those still work as high fantasy.
And again, I will say, like, I'm not saying you have to buy these things at all. What I guess I don't know if sleeping on is the right term, but it's when people like get in the way of stuff, where like people will actively go out of the way to be like, nah, dude, that sucks. That's just a knockoff Thundercats. or like, come on, man, like, what are you trying to be? Like, I don't know. Like, there's just that kind of thing where it's like, I do wonder what the value of that is
Yeah.
when I do think there's some very real economic reasons to want to bring more people into new things. If we want to see toy collecting in the way that we do it continue to like the next generation, because I think I look at my kids, they're just not at all interested in the action figure thing, and I
If we
teach
keep mining
150
from
kids every year.
if we keep
150.
mining from the same well, eventually it's going to dry up. I mean,
Yeah,
we got to do something innovative at some point.
and I'll be one of those people who's like, what people are sleeping on is Star Wars, and I say that because I get it. Like, we all have different opinions about what Star Wars is supposed to be or whatever. But I feel like people are sleeping on the new stuff. Just like, go with it, check it out. And if you don't like it, cool. Like, none of the stuff that you grew up with is disappearing. But there are many people, not just young people, but like who do love it. And I do, I think negative chatter actually does affect the market. We know this, right?
Yeah. Oh,
And I've seen too many instances. Again, Masters of the Universe Revelation is a perfect example where I feel like, man, before that thing even showed up, there was like a wall of hate against it. Same for the sequels. Like,
it's with anything. I think that negative headspace is easier to get into for a lot of people.
I know. It's just, and I don't like, you can be in that headspace, go for it, but don't
drag me down.
It gets in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't put a stain on stuff.
When I'm doing this, like what we're doing right now, I'm trying to keep it as positive as possible.
Yeah.
And when I talk to you about, cleaning up some of that overflow, as we'll call it overflow, because it's overflowed, right? I think we get so kind of wound up with that negativity in the other areas of the world and the other areas of our lives that we forget the very simple thing. And there's a reason that I asked this question. We forget how important that simple thing is. And I'm not saying you have to be unrealistic and giddy and absurd about it, but every day we should find something that makes us feel joy. I don't care if it's for 5 minutes. I don't care if it's for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
It's that for me, toys always, even, sitting here and I'm, if I fiddle with toys, you're fiddling with toys. There's a look on our faces that it's a joy. It's a relaxation. I don't have to think about, in your case, let's say I don't have to think about the kids, being sick, or I don't have to worry about, cooking dinner. I don't have to worry about these other things that weigh down on us every day. We get that brief moment where this is cool. I'm playing with a toy. This is great. I get to do this. What does this do? How does this work?
Yeah.
It's allowing us to be less serious.
Why so serious?
As much as he's psychotic in that point, he's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it is true. We tend to get wrapped up in that, and we forget to have those simple joys, those little excitements.
I agree. And I think that's where toys and being involved in things that remind us of that child thing, which I know that you've also kind of pointed out. That's why I love the fact that so much of nerd culture has become mainstream pop culture, because I do think there's an inherent whimsy and fun to the notion of, like, let's watch a superhero movie. Let's watch a spaceship movie, whatever.
Having that playful mindset. It's truly critical to developing as a person.
Yep.
So it's one of those things that, I had to find mine. I had let everything weigh down on me for so long
Mm-hmm.
that honestly it was crushing.
Mm.
With my son and everything else. And,
Mm-hmm.
you feel like because you give up things because of that, you feel like you're less of something that you're not. It was a lot of that internal dialogue, that negative speak, and I had to get myself out of that. And toys allowed me to do that. And it allows me to get away from that negative thoughts and those things where I don't feel as developed as I should be, if that makes sense.
As developed.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
As adultish as it developed. And I need
Sure.
to
Mm-hmm.
come back to that child playfulness to get to that safe place where my brain is like, oh, okay, this is okay.
Yep.
And that's where toys brought me. So
Mm-hmm.
there's something about it, just innately about that childlike playfulness that helped me get a grasp on some other things in my life. So, I know you said you're not going to do one a day, but just hear me out. Try to get to them. Make a plan. It's not about having to do it all the time, but it's just to get you thinking about it, not in no negative space.
It's true. I told you, like, oh yeah, I'll open this on there. And we got so chatty that
You forgot.
actually, it's not even just that. I got sucked into Manny Faces and I got sucked into Nate Barch's
and that's okay.
Scale thing. Yeah.
You're getting the playfulness, you're losing that, you're finding the joy in that simple activity. It's fine.
Can I can I name one thing though? Let's be real. Let's have like a come to whatever deity you worship or not moment. There is a point where, like, I know this stuff is expensive, right? If you were doing the math on some of the things that I showed you that I have over here, it's kind of bad. So I guess some of the shame and stuff too that I feel when there's too much is like, should I even have these things? Sometimes I'll be honest with you, because
you feel guilty because it's just sitting there and it's not really doing anything.
Yeah, and I spent money on this. You
Yeah.
know? The good thing is, I will say this too to people, because people are like, man, why are you buying those crazy expensive toys? Why do you buy Mythic Legions and all this stuff? And I'll tell you, part of it too is two things. I had some of these toy lines in the past, so I've gotten one, the Masters of the Universe, that like reminds me of my childhood that I didn't get to have as a kid. But so it's like I didn't technically have that as a kid, so it feels new and exciting to me. Like, it's great. Like, I don't necessarily need to go back and get Star Wars or G.I. Joe because like I was there. So part of it is new and exciting. 2, why Mythic Legions? Why the D20 stuff? And I'll be honest with you, because I know that I'm not going to keep these. And I know the resale on these is going to make me more whole at some point when that happens. Then I'm not going to sell these Masterverse. What am I going to sell these Masterverse figures for? 5 for $25. Sweet. That's fair. Like, it is what it is. But that's not necessarily the case with Mythic. I'll be honest, that's part of it too. So people do ask me, like, why are you spending so much?
So your risk is less, is what you're saying.
Yeah, because I know that I'm going to get a good chunk of it back, depending on when I sell it. That's my thinking. I'll be honest. That's a part of it.
If you're talking about as long as the market is there,
Yes.
Yeah.
So on that note, tomorrow, if I end up with a forest troll, if anybody wants an ice troll, hit me up.
All right. Well, on that note, I think we got all the way into the questions.
I appreciate the advice too about like playing with them. Trust me, this is not me poo-pooing your advice. I totally get it. But it's also me being kind of like self-aware and knowing that if I go down that road of trying to be like a day, you know what that's going to do is
it's going to make it less fun.
But and it's going to put pressure, like it's going to turn it into a thing rather than me just being like.
But some of that is, I use that as a guideline. What I'm really meaning is it's making progress on it every day. It doesn't mean doing an opening every day. I mean, it's kind of like with Chris when I had a conversation with him a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I had him do some homework. I had Oz do some homework. I mean, it's one of those things that we do as therapists that I did all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things that I had to learn myself. I would go home and do homework. Like right here, I'm doing homework every day when I prep for the show.
Yeah.
I'm doing that homework about, getting into this mindset where I'm being supportive and trying to encourage things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's cool. I love that. That set is awesome. Is that a cow head?
It's the goats.
It's
head. Again the Norse, I think, like Thor's goats.
100% of his goat cow. That's cool.
You seen what is it? What was it? Was it Ragnar? No, what was the last one?
Which one?
The recent Thor?
Love and
the
Thunder?
Goats. Yeah, the goats.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what these are. I think essentially are inspired by.
Well, I'm out of questions.
Cool. I hope folks weren't too bored by us sort of like chatting me, just talking and whatever. But I appreciate you having me on for sure.
No, I'm glad you came on. I enjoy the conversation. So
yeah.
It's we're doing things that other people aren't doing. We're talking.
Yeah.
And we're talking.
And I'm an old man, as Jeremy J points out. I'm an old man.
You know what? I'm older than you, so what does that say? We're old men playing with toys, but we know these toys aren't designed for kids.
Yeah.
At least most of them. Some of them are. Well, I appreciate you coming on, everybody.
Yeah, man. It was great. Thank you.
Leave you all with this one last thing. You need to find some joy today. And if you didn't, you might want to work on that because the nights, at least in my time zone, only has about an hour left.
Yeah.
And one last thing, shameless plug again. Join the frenzy. Join us. I promise we don't bite. Well, unless you want us to. Y'all have a good evening.
They're considerate.
Talk to you later.
Night, folks. Have a good night.